There is a quiet storm that brews in the hearts of those who measure their lives against the mirror of another. It whispers, subtle as the wind, that your path is too narrow, your achievements too few, your beauty insufficient, your love inadequate. This storm grows unseen until it consumes the joy that could have been yours. You see, my dear ones, the danger is not in ambition nor in striving, but in the constant comparison, in the unyielding gaze toward someone else's success, someone else's happiness, someone else's life. It is a thief of peace, a thief of dreams, a thief of the very heartbeat of your soul. And so, today I invite you to release yourself from this bondage, for you will never be happy if your joy is measured by another's measure. We live in a world that dazzles us with the glitter of other lives. Social media, the streets, the offices, the gatherings, everywhere there are markers of success, reminders of beauty, the trophies of someone else's effort. And it is easy, oh so easy, to fall into the trap of thinking that their life is better, that they are more worthy, that somehow you are lacking. But let me tell you, the life you see is often only a photograph, a single frame in a story you do not know. Behind every smile, behind every accomplishment, there is struggle, there is pain, there are moments that no one shows you. And yet you compare, and in that comparison, you begin to diminish your own story, your own victories, your own soul. Comparison is a cruel companion. It is a shadow that follows you into your dreams. It is a whisper in the night that tells you you are not enough. And when you listen, when you bow to its voice, you give away your power. Every soul has its own rhythm, its own pace, its own journey through this world. The flower does not envy the tree, nor the river the mountain. Each has its own beauty, its own purpose. And so it must be with you. You cannot measure your worth by the heights of another, by the applause that comes to them, by the wealth they have amassed. Your life is yours, a story written in the ink of your choices, the blood of your struggles, the love you have given and received. I have walked among those who chase the shadows of others, thinking that happiness lies somewhere else, in someone else's hands. They have measured themselves against the tall, the beautiful, the clever, the successful, only to find that their own reflection has dimmed, their own light has faded. And I tell you, it is not because they lacked anything, but because they surrendered to the belief that someone else's life could define theirs. Do not surrender, my friends. Do not hand over your joy to another, for they hold no such power. Happiness is not found in comparison, nor in imitation, nor in the echo of another's footsteps. It is found in the cultivation of your own life, in the careful tending of your own garden, in the love and forgiveness you offer to yourself. Do you know that the seeds of contentment are planted in gratitude? When you are grateful for the life you have, for the small victories, for the breaths you take, for the hearts that love you, you begin to see the richness of your own path. When you pause to acknowledge your growth, your resilience, your courage in the face of adversity, the need to compare fades. It is replaced by a quiet pride, a knowing that your story, with all its twists and turns, is uniquely yours, beautiful and necessary. Comparison has no place in a heart that knows its own worth, for it cannot compete with authenticity, with the fullness of being present in one's own life. Consider the lives you admire. Perhaps they are full of laughter, of travel, of applause, of material abundance. And yet, even in their joy, there are shadows. Even in the most radiant life, there are struggles, fears, insecurities, nights when the heart aches and the mind whispers doubts. If you look closely, if you listen with care, you will find that no life is perfect, no journey without pain, no triumph without effort. And when you see this truth, you understand that comparison is an illusion, a trick of the mind, a barrier to the very happiness you seek. It is not weakness to acknowledge your longing, nor shame to recognize your envy, for these are human. but it is folly to allow them to dictate the rhythm of your life. You have been given a life to live fully, to embrace without hesitation, without apology, without the need to measure it against another's. There is a strength in knowing that you are enough, that your dreams, your love, your spirit are valuable simply because they are yours. And the moment you accept this, the chains of comparison begin to fall, and the door to your own happiness opens wide. I have seen the power of self-acceptance. I have witnessed the light that blooms when a soul stops chasing shadows and begins to tend its own flame. It is a quiet radiance, not shouted from rooftops, not flaunted in parades, but steady, enduring, unshakable. When you care for your soul, when you honor your gifts, when you acknowledge your pain and triumph alike, you begin to understand that your life is not a contest. It is a journey of discovery, of learning, of loving, of becoming. And it is in this journey that happiness resides, not in the applause of others, not in the envy of a neighbor, not in the comparison of achievements, but in the simple, profound act of being fully present in your own life. Do not fear solitude, for it is in the quiet moments that you meet yourself. In the silence, away from the noise of the world and its endless displays of what should be, you can hear the whispers of your own heart. You can feel the pulse of your own spirit, the dreams that have been waiting patiently for your attention, the desires that are uniquely yours. And when you listen, truly listen, you find that the measure of your life is not outside, in the eyes of others, but inside, in the fullness of your own experience. Let me tell you, comparing yourself to another is like trying to catch the wind. It is intangible, ever-changing, impossible to hold. And yet we chase it, believing that somewhere, someone else has the key to happiness, the map to fulfillment, the secret we lack. But the truth, the liberating truth, is that happiness is a creation, not a discovery. It is a song that arises from your own heart, a light that springs from your own soul. You cannot find it in another life, but you can nurture it in your own. Every act of kindness you perform, every moment of courage you embrace, every breath you take with gratitude, every smile you offer to yourself and to others, it is all part of the tapestry of your own happiness. You may ask, but how do I stop comparing? How do I silence the voices that tell me I am lacking? And I will tell you, it is a practice, a daily act of courage. Begin by noticing when the comparison arises, when the shadow of envy creeps into your heart. Acknowledge it without judgment, and then consciously turn your gaze inward, toward your own growth, your own accomplishments, your own beauty. Celebrate the small victories, the quiet triumphs, the resilience that carried you through hardship. Speak kindly to yourself, as you would to a beloved friend. Remind yourself over and over that your life is yours, that your journey is sacred, and that no one else can walk it for you. And when you encounter the lives of others, let them inspire, not diminish. Learn from their journeys, admire their courage, celebrate their successes, but do not measure yourself against them. Their light does not take away from yours. The moon does not dim because of the sun. There is room enough for all brilliance in this world. When you embrace this truth, you begin to live in abundance, not in lack, in joy, not in envy, in love, not in comparison. And in this living you will find that happiness, once elusive, becomes a constant companion. Do not mistake this for complacency. Do not think that turning away from comparison means you will not strive, you will not grow, you will not dream. On the contrary, it frees you. When you are no longer chained to the successes and failures of others, you can pursue your own passions with clarity, with focus, with joy. Your energy, once wasted on envy, is now available for creation, for love, for generosity, for courage. And the more you cultivate your own life, the more you realize that the comparison was never about others. It was about your own fear, your own insecurity, your own doubt. Release it and you release yourself. There will always be someone taller, someone wealthier, someone more famous, someone with a life that seems more perfect. And yet, happiness is not in being taller, wealthier, or more famous. It is in authenticity. It is in living in alignment with your values, your dreams, your truth. It is in the peace that comes when you stop chasing shadows and begin to embrace the light you already possess. It is in the joy that arises when you stop counting the coins of others and begin to spend your own freely and generously on the currency of love, gratitude, and presence. I want you to see deep within that your life is extraordinary, not because it mirrors another's, not because it meets society's measure, but because it is yours. The struggles you have faced, the wounds you have carried, the victories you have won, all of these make you unique. And it is in embracing this uniqueness, in celebrating it, in honoring it, that you discover the happiness that comparison can never give. Remember this, you will never find peace in measuring yourself against another, but you will find liberation in measuring yourself against your own growth. You will never find joy in keeping score with others, but you will find delight in celebrating your own milestones. You will never find contentment in envy, but you will find serenity in gratitude. And in that serenity, you will discover the unshakable, radiant, enduring happiness that is your birthright. So, walk boldly in your own path. Speak kindly to yourself. Nurture your own dreams. Celebrate your own victories. Tend to your soul with love and patience. And when you look at the lives of others, do so with admiration, not comparison. Let their light guide you, not challenge you. Let their courage inspire you, not diminish you. And above all, remember this: your happiness is not a reflection of anyone else's life. It is a creation of your own heart, a gift you give yourself each day, a flame that burns bright, regardless of the shadows cast by others. It is in this knowledge, in this acceptance, in this deliberate choosing of your own joy, that you will finally understand what it means to be truly happy. And when you do, you will find that life, with all its trials and triumphs, its beauty and its pain, is not something to be measured, but something to be lived fully, passionately, and without regret. Yes, there will always be others to compare yourself to, but there will also always be the choice to rise above, to honor your own path, to cultivate your own joy, to love yourself fiercely and without hesitation. And in making this choice day after day, moment after moment, you will discover a happiness so deep, so abiding, so authentic, that no shadow of comparison can ever touch it. Let your heart be your compass, your spirit your guide, and your life your own masterpiece. And know this, without question, without hesitation, without doubt, you are enough. You are worthy. You are deserving. And you will never be truly happy until you stop comparing and start embracing the life that is uniquely, magnificently yours. Gratitude is a gentle but powerful force, one that has the ability to transform the restless mind, the anxious heart, and the soul weighed down by comparison. It is the quiet, steady light that begins to illuminate the darkness of envy, that softens the sharp edges of dissatisfaction, and that brings a sense of fullness to a life that might otherwise feel empty. When you practice gratitude, you are not merely saying, "Thank you," for what is easy or obvious. You are acknowledging the depth, the complexity, and the richness of your own existence, even in the midst of struggle. Gratitude asks you to pause, to breathe, and to turn your attention inward, to notice what is already present, what is already yours, what is already sustaining you. In doing so, it removes the need to look outward for validation, for happiness, for fulfillment. Envy, on the other hand, is a restless companion. It creeps quietly into the mind when you least expect it, whispering comparisons and planting seeds of doubt. It asks why someone else has what you do not, why their path seems smoother, their joy more visible, their success more celebrated. It distracts you from the unique blessings in your own life and convinces you that fulfillment is always somewhere else. Envy is a subtle thief, taking not your possessions but your peace, not your body but your spirit. And yet it is so often met with silence, or worse, with resignation, as if to say, "This is just the way life is, and you must endure it." But gratitude refuses to endure passively. It actively rewires the way you see yourself and the world around you. When you cultivate gratitude, you begin to recognize the small miracles that exist in your everyday life. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the quiet moments of reflection before the day begins, the laughter shared with someone you love, the resilience that has carried you through challenges you thought you could never survive. These things, seemingly ordinary, are in fact extraordinary, and they are yours to claim. Gratitude shifts your gaze from what is missing to what is present. It replaces longing with appreciation, dissatisfaction with contentment, envy with admiration, and scarcity with abundance. The mind that is trained in gratitude no longer measures itself against another's achievements, because it has discovered that its own life is already rich in ways that cannot be counted or compared. Gratitude is not a passive emotion. It is a practice, a discipline, a choice that must be exercised daily. It asks you to stop in the midst of your busy day and notice the gifts you often take for granted. The ability to see, to hear, to breathe, to love, to work, to dream, these are not entitlements, they are blessings. And when you begin to recognize them, you begin to experience a sense of completeness that envy can never touch. Envy thrives on scarcity, on the illusion that happiness is limited, that someone else's gain diminishes your own. Gratitude, however, teaches that joy is expansive, that abundance is not finite, that the richness of one life does not take away from the richness of another. When you are grateful, the mind that once compared and measured now celebrates and honors. The antidote to envy is not only in counting blessings, but in understanding the interconnectedness of life. When you see another's success, you can choose to feel diminished, or you can choose to feel inspired. Gratitude allows you to make this choice consciously. It reminds you that someone else's achievements do not reduce your worth, nor do they take away your opportunities. The joy you feel in recognizing their accomplishments is a reflection of the generosity of your own heart. Gratitude transforms envy into admiration, jealousy into motivation, and longing into aspiration. It helps you understand that the happiness of others is not a threat to your own happiness, but a testament to the possibility that life is capable of abundance for all who are willing to embrace it. Gratitude also fosters resilience. In moments when life feels unfair, when your desires remain unfulfilled, when the world seems to favor others, gratitude reminds you of the strength that resides within. It asks you to remember the times you have risen despite adversity, the moments you have loved despite rejection, the victories, large and small, that you have quietly achieved. Each acknowledgement strengthens the soul and diminishes the power of envy. By recognizing your own journey, your own triumphs, your own blessings, you begin to see that comparison is unnecessary. You are enough. You have enough. Your life, with all its imperfections and struggles, is a landscape rich with meaning, with beauty, with lessons that are uniquely yours. Furthermore, gratitude nurtures humility, and humility in turn softens the edges of envy. When you are grateful, you recognize that life is a combination of effort, circumstance, and chance, and that no one's journey is entirely unearned, nor entirely without struggle. You begin to see the humanity in others, the labor behind their accomplishments, the fears behind their courage, the failures behind their triumphs. In this understanding, envy loses its sting, because you recognize that the comparison was never fair in the first place. Gratitude allows you to honor your own path and honor the paths of others simultaneously, without the tension of competition or the weight of inadequacy. The practice of gratitude is also deeply generative. When you express gratitude, when you speak it, write it, or meditate upon it, you amplify its effects. You begin to notice more things to be grateful for. You become attuned to the beauty in ordinary moments, to the kindness of strangers, to the resilience of your own spirit. This expansion of awareness pushes envy further away, not through force, but through recognition, through the natural widening of the heart. Your life becomes a mirror of abundance rather than scarcity, a reflection of the richness already present rather than the lack you imagined. In this space, happiness is no longer dependent on external circumstances, for it has been cultivated internally through the intentional practice of gratitude. Gratitude also teaches patience, for it reminds us that life unfolds in its own time and rhythm. When you are grateful for what you have now, you are less likely to envy what others have, less likely to feel urgency for things not yet arrived. You learn to trust the timing of your own journey, to honor your own pace, and to celebrate the small steps along the way. The soul that practices gratitude does not hurry in the shadow of another's accomplishments, because it knows that its own path is complete in its own right. Every moment lived with awareness and thankfulness builds a foundation of joy that envy cannot shake, because it is rooted not in comparison, but in the deep, abiding recognition of the goodness already present in your life. In the end, gratitude is more than a remedy for envy. It is a philosophy of living, a lens through which the world appears more vibrant, more expansive. It allows you to claim your own story fully, to walk your own path with dignity and joy, and to see the achievements of others without fear or resentment. It is the bridge that connects the restless heart to peace, the anxious mind to contentment, and the envious spirit to love. By cultivating gratitude, you create a life where happiness is not borrowed, where joy is not contingent on comparison, where fulfillment is not measured against another's standard, but is discovered, nurtured, and celebrated within yourself, moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. Every soul moves through life with its own rhythm, a rhythm that cannot be dictated, hurried, or measured against the clock of another's existence. It is a truth that often escapes us in the rush of modern life, in the constant comparisons that surround us, in the invisible pressure to arrive, to achieve, to become what we see others being. We look at the milestones of others and measure our worth by how quickly we reach similar heights, forgetting that the journey is as sacred as the destination. Every soul has its unique pace and journey, and the beauty of life lies in the recognition of this individuality, in the patience we afford ourselves, and in the respect we offer to others for the paths they walk. There is a gentle wisdom in moving at your own speed. When we resist our own pace, when we force ourselves to follow someone else's timetable, we invite frustration, disappointment, and a deep sense of inadequacy. We forget that growth, true growth, is not a race but a process, and that the timing of our victories is neither predictable nor comparable. Each soul experiences its lessons in a sequence that is perfectly suited to its own evolution. Some may arrive early to triumph, some may wander through valleys before reaching heights, and some may circle around their purpose several times before it finally becomes clear. There is no hierarchy in this journey, no standard by which to judge progress, and no one else's pace can illuminate or diminish the value of our own. The world often convinces us that speed is equivalent to success, that rapid achievement reflects worthiness, and that lagging behind is a failure. This is an illusion, a narrative constructed to create urgency and dissatisfaction. But life does not operate on a universal clock. It operates on a rhythm that is deeply personal, intimately attuned to the soul's readiness, the lessons it needs, and the experiences that will shape it most profoundly. When you honor your own pace, you are not falling behind. You are walking in harmony with your own nature. You are giving yourself permission to grow at the speed that is right for you, to learn in ways that resonate, and to embrace the unfolding of life without the burden of comparison. There is a profound peace in recognizing that everyone's journey is different. The person beside you may appear to move faster, achieving accolades or milestones that you long for, yet their path has been shaped by experiences, challenges, and choices that are theirs alone. Your journey, with its unique rhythm, has its own lessons, its own victories, its own beauty. The mountain you climb may be steeper, the road longer, the night darker, but the light that greets you at the summit will be no less radiant. And in understanding this, we begin to release envy, impatience, and frustration, replacing them with patience, reverence, and trust in the timing of our own lives. The soul that honors its own pace cultivates resilience. In a world of constant comparison, when the achievements of others are broadcast and celebrated, it is easy to feel inadequate or left behind. Yet when we accept that each life unfolds differently, we build an inner strength that cannot be shaken by external markers of success. We learn to trust ourselves, to value our own progress, and to celebrate our own milestones, no matter how small or delayed they may seem. Each step, each moment of growth, each act of courage, contributes to a life that is rich and meaningful, even if it does not mirror the trajectory of another. Moreover, embracing our unique journey allows us to find joy in the process rather than fixating solely on the destination. Too often, we are consumed by the desire to arrive, to accomplish, to possess, without savoring the unfolding of our own experiences. Life's true lessons, its most profound revelations, are found in the journey itself, in the struggles that teach perseverance, in the failures that teach humility, in the victories that teach gratitude, and in the quiet moments that teach reflection. When we honor our pace, we allow ourselves to experience life fully, to absorb its richness, and to grow with intention and awareness. It is also in recognizing the uniqueness of our pace that we cultivate compassion, both for ourselves and for others. We understand that the achievements of others are not a threat, nor are their struggles a benchmark by which to measure our own. We begin to see each soul as a fellow traveler, moving through life with its own challenges and triumphs. This awareness fosters empathy, a deeper connection with the human experience, and a sense of solidarity rather than competition. We can celebrate others' successes without diminishing our own, and we can navigate our own journey with confidence and patience, knowing that our path is ours alone. There is a quiet grace in moving deliberately, in honoring the timing of your own evolution, and in trusting the lessons that life provides at each stage. Rushing through experiences or forcing outcomes can lead to burnout, regret, or missed wisdom. Every delay, every detour, every unexpected turn is part of a larger tapestry designed uniquely for you. The soul that moves in alignment with its own pace discovers that setbacks are not failures, but opportunities for learning, that obstacles are not barriers but invitations to grow, and that patience is not passivity but strength. Life, in its infinite complexity, rewards those who honor their own rhythm and respect the unfolding of their journey. Understanding that every soul has its unique pace also frees us from the tyranny of comparison. We no longer measure our worth against the achievements of another or the speed with which they move. Instead, we cultivate a deep awareness that our life, with its timing, its challenges, and its victories, is perfectly suited for us. Each season, each chapter, each moment contributes to the richness of our story. When we stop comparing, we reclaim the joy of living, the freedom to grow authentically, and the confidence to trust ourselves fully. The journey of the soul is not linear. It does not conform to societal expectations or follow a predictable script. There will be moments of acceleration, moments of pause, moments of regression, and moments of sudden clarity. All of these are essential to the unfolding of a life that is authentic, meaningful, and deeply human. When we honor this non-linear journey, we give ourselves permission to move at our own pace, to embrace both triumphs and setbacks, and to recognize the beauty in the entirety of our experience. The patience, wisdom, and resilience cultivated through this acceptance become the foundation of a life that is both fulfilling and joyful, a life that cannot be diminished by the pace of another. Every soul has its unique pace and journey, and when we embrace this truth, we find a freedom that is liberating. We no longer race to prove ourselves or to meet arbitrary standards. We no longer feel the weight of others' expectations pressing upon our shoulders. We walk with intention, with awareness, and with a profound trust in the process of our own growth. Our milestones, our victories, our lessons, and our joys are ours alone, and in recognizing this, we begin to live fully, with gratitude, patience, and reverence for the unique path that has been laid before us. Happiness is not a commodity to be found in the hands of others, nor is it a destination that can be reached by following someone else's path. It is not hidden in the applause of the crowd, the admiration of peers, the accumulation of wealth, or the fleeting approval of strangers. True happiness is not borrowed. It cannot be taken from another's life or exchanged in the marketplace of social comparison. It is a creation, an art, a practice, and a state of being that grows from within the depths of the self. And yet so many wander through life searching for it in the wrong places, hoping that someone else's success, someone else's love, or someone else's recognition will finally fill the emptiness they feel inside. They measure their worth against others, envy their achievements, imitate their choices. And still the void remains because happiness cannot live outside the soul that seeks it. To cultivate happiness from within requires courage, because it asks you to turn inward, to confront yourself without distraction, to meet the fears, doubts, insecurities, and unfulfilled longings that you have carried often in silence. It asks you to listen to the quiet voice of your own heart, to nurture the small sparks of joy that exist even in the midst of struggle, to honor the victories that are uniquely yours, and to forgive yourself for the mistakes that have shaped your journey. Happiness born from within is not fragile. It is not dependent on circumstances or the presence of others. It is a deep, abiding light that continues to shine even when storms rage outside, even when others fail to recognize your worth, and even when the world seems to withhold its favors. Many mistake external sources of pleasure for true happiness. A new possession, a moment of recognition, a romantic connection, or a successful endeavor may bring joy, but it is often fleeting, temporary, and conditional. Once the moment passes, once the applause fades, once the external validation is gone, so too is the happiness. When we rely on others to provide what can only be cultivated within, we place our well-being in the hands of forces beyond our control. We give away our power, our agency, and our peace. True happiness is cultivated through the conscious choice to nurture oneself, to recognize one's own value, and to create a life of meaning and gratitude regardless of external circumstance. The cultivation of inner happiness begins with self-awareness. You must understand yourself, your desires, your strengths, and your limitations. You must learn to recognize the moments when you are seeking joy in the wrong places, when you are looking outward for validation instead of inward for fulfillment. Self-awareness requires honesty, a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about the self, to see patterns that may have led to dissatisfaction, and to acknowledge the ways in which you may have unknowingly handed your happiness over to others. Once you begin to understand your own mind and heart, you gain the power to redirect your energy, to invest in practices, habits, and attitudes that nurture contentment from within. Gratitude, mindfulness, and self-compassion are foundational to cultivating this inner happiness. Gratitude teaches you to recognize the abundance in your own life, to shift attention from what is lacking to what is already present. It reminds you that happiness is not the acquisition of more, but the appreciation of what you already possess, the breath in your lungs, the warmth of the sun, the love that surrounds you, the strength you have found in adversity. Mindfulness allows you to inhabit the present moment fully, to experience life as it unfolds rather than as a comparison to what others have or what you believe you lack. Self-compassion teaches you to treat yourself with kindness, to honor your struggles, and to celebrate your progress without harsh judgment. Together, these practices create fertile ground within the soul where happiness can grow naturally and resiliently. Cultivating happiness from within also requires releasing the need for external approval. The desire to be seen, recognized, and validated by others is natural, but when it becomes the primary source of your joy, it is dangerous. The applause of the crowd can be fickle, the recognition of peers inconsistent, and the approval of strangers uncertain. If your happiness depends on these external forces, you will always live in anxiety, in a constant state of comparison, in fear of rejection and disappointment. To free yourself, you must turn inward, to trust that your value is inherent, that your life is meaningful, and that your joy is not dependent on someone else's acknowledgement. When you take this step, you reclaim your power, and you begin to experience a freedom that allows happiness to flourish naturally. Self-expression is another essential element in nurturing inner happiness. When you live in alignment with your values, passions, and authentic self, you create a life that reflects your deepest truth. Doing work that fulfills you, nurturing relationships that uplift you, and engaging in creative or spiritual practices that resonate with your soul generates a profound sense of satisfaction. This satisfaction is not contingent on comparison, nor is it dependent on recognition. It is a reflection of living authentically. The more your external life aligns with your inner truth, the more resilient and abiding your happiness becomes. Resilience is born from this cultivated inner joy. Life is unpredictable, full of challenges, setbacks, and disappointments that will inevitably arise. External circumstances will change. People will come and go. Fortune may favor others while leaving you behind. But happiness that grows from within is resilient because it is rooted in your relationship with yourself rather than your circumstances. It is not fragile. It does not crumble when the winds of life shift. Instead, it stands firm, nourished by self-awareness, gratitude, authenticity, and the deep recognition that your life, your choices, and your journey are valuable and worthy of joy regardless of external validation. Happiness cultivated from within also fosters empathy and generosity. When you are not seeking fulfillment through the approval or validation of others, you are free to give love, encouragement, and kindness without expectation of return. You can celebrate the joys of others without envy, support the successes of peers without diminishing your own, and contribute to the well-being of your community with a full heart. This outward flow of generosity amplifies your own inner happiness, creating a positive cycle that nurtures both your soul and the lives of those around you. It is essential to recognize that cultivating happiness is a lifelong journey, not a one-time achievement. The mind will still wander into comparison. The heart may still long for external validation, and moments of dissatisfaction will inevitably arise. The key is not to eliminate these experiences, but to respond to them with awareness, patience, and self-compassion. Each time you notice envy or longing creeping into your heart, you have the opportunity to turn inward, to reconnect with your own value, and to practice the habits that nurture joy from within. Over time, these practices build a foundation of enduring happiness that cannot be shaken by external circumstances or the lives of others. Cultivating inner happiness also requires embracing the fullness of your own life, including its challenges, mistakes, and imperfections. Too often, we resist our own experiences, wishing for a smoother path, a faster journey, or a life that mirrors the success of others. Yet it is in the imperfections, the struggles, and the lessons learned that the seeds of joy often grow most deeply. Happiness that is cultivated from within recognizes the beauty of the human experience in its entirety, the richness of growth, the depth of learning, and the resilience of the spirit. It flourishes not despite adversity, but often because of it, transforming challenges into sources of strength and wisdom. The cultivation of inner happiness is ultimately a radical act. It defies the societal pressures that tell us to look outward for validation, to compare ourselves to others, to seek fulfillment in fleeting pleasures and external approval. It is a declaration that your joy belongs to you, that your worth is inherent, and that your life is sufficient as it is. By committing to this inner cultivation, you create a life where happiness is not subject to circumstance, where joy is not borrowed from others, and where contentment becomes a daily practice rather than a distant goal. When you cultivate happiness from within, you discover that it is expansive rather than limited. It is not diminished by the successes of others or by the absence of material wealth, recognition, or external approval. It is not a finite resource that must be hoarded or competed over. It is abundant, generative, and ever-renewing. The more you nurture it, the more it grows, creating a sense of peace, satisfaction, and fulfillment that radiates outward, touching every aspect of your life and the lives of those around you. Happiness that arises from within also encourages authenticity, integrity, and courage. When you are grounded in your own joy, you are less likely to compromise your values for approval, to chase goals that do not resonate, or to conform to societal expectations that conflict with your inner truth. You act from a place of alignment rather than fear, from a place of self-respect rather than comparison, and from a place of confidence rather than uncertainty. This alignment reinforces your inner happiness, creating a feedback loop that sustains joy and resilience, even in the face of external challenges.